My name is Maria Knegge. I was born in Lancaster, Pennsylvania. At this point, the only way I am able to verbally share parts of my story is to write it down and then read what I wrote. Otherwise, I get completely lost in it. The present moment and my past start to merge into one, and there is no longer a separation. In my early childhood years, I experienced ritualistic sexual abuse. I had fear instilled in me by the abusers to never talk about this, ever. By day, I was a happy girl, a free spirit. I loved to dance and sing and put smiles on people's faces. By night, I was swept away into a great darkness, experiencing a suffering that most never experience. The violent sexual acts fractured my young and innocent soul. To become numb and not remember, it was the only way I knew how to go on and survive. Eventually, what I experienced at night started to seep into my days. I started to hold a lot of rage and anger as a child. I remember having some intense and horrible outbursts. Because I had completely detached myself while the abuse was occurring, I no longer remembered it. I do remember feeling confused about where my anger came from, and I felt terrible inside each time I had an outburst. The anger was definitely noticed. How could it have not been, really? And all means of correcting my behavior were taken. But the anger wasn't the problem. The problem was what was being done to me in secret that no one knew about. Into my teen years, I progressively became even more angry. I would start fires in the house, punch holes in the walls, physically hurt my siblings, or really anything in my path. What I was trying to say through the anger outbursts was being unheard. So I took that anger and began to turn it inwards. By middle school, I started cutting myself. I finally found a way to punish myself and my body. Whenever my blood would start flowing rapidly from the cuts, I felt as though all the dirtiness and all the shame and disgust was being released. I had become completely numb to pain. I enjoyed it. I deserved it. I hated me. Shortly after the cutting, bulimia started too. I discovered another way to release all the dirtiness and unpleasant feelings. I physically and emotionally felt instant relief, but it only lasted a few moments. It was a vicious cycle. It came to a point where therapists would start saying to me, "I just don't know how to help you any longer," and I'd have to try and find a new one. I also had been discharged early from a few different treatment centers for the same reason. I was a lost cause and no one knew what to do with me. My family thought I would never make it to age 30. In fact, my brother had told me once that he was emotionally preparing himself to know he would not have a younger sister for too much longer. I never truly wanted to die. I know I said I did, and my actions sure showed I did, but I didn't. I was holding a deep, deep sadness within, and it had nowhere to go. It was never acknowledged, and I was told I was crazy. Into adulthood, I was a victim of many other sexual assaults. This cycle just kept going. At my lowest point, I had now also been to jail 3 times, cut to where I was just a hair away from cutting a tendon, which would have resulted in losing all function and feeling in my hand, and I was down to 89 pounds. I was a corpse walking around. Circumstances soon brought me to Fort Wayne. I lived in a transitional home called Hope House with 20 other women. Hope House introduced me to Headwaters, and I soon began therapy with Vanessa. I was unsure but also eager to start therapy again. I knew I had a secret within, and my mind, body, and spirit was searching to feel safe enough to talk to someone about it. Vanessa had provided a safe and judgment-free zone for me to start talking. She was exactly what I wished for. She wiped all the labels off of me. I felt like I could breathe, like I could just be me, and that was enough. Because I felt so safe, I started to develop more and more positive thoughts within. She listened to me. I realized my voice mattered, that I mattered. I felt validated and valued. Healing started to happen. My voice was becoming stronger. My eating habits were changing, and I searched for that joy feeling now more than anything. The cloud of darkness was finally starting to lift itself off of me. I remember gardening as a child and always enjoyed it. It made me feel connected to something in a safe and positive way. So whenever I could, I'd be out in the gardens. Just by having my hands in the dirt again, I instantly felt that connection. The earth was very grounding for me. I felt a joy along with gardening. This was a new feeling, different, foreign. It was kind of scary. Did I deserve to feel joy, to feel good? I wasn't really sure. But because I felt safe, I soon started to follow that joy feeling more and more. My life started changing. I still had issues with food, but was hired at the local co-op, the Three Rivers Natural Grocery Store. I felt unsure working around food, but knew I needed a job. Soon I realized the co-op was different than most grocery stores. It was centered around health and wellness. When I moved out of the Hope House into my own apartment, I knew I wanted some kind of pet. I had always disliked cats, but that was the only option the apartment building allowed. So one day I went to the SPCA. I walked into the room full of cats. I sat on the floor waiting for some to come to me. As I looked around the room, I noticed something hanging on the wall. It said, "Don't forget to ask about me," and had a picture of a cat and a description. I got up to read the description. The first sentence stated, "I'm Gumball, and I'm hoping you have the one main thing I'm looking for in a home, peace." Then it went on to say, "There's nothing I love better than a quiet place where I can feel safe." I knew I had to meet this Gumball. Her and I were searching for the same things. She was an older cat, 6 at that time. I was told she was at animal care and control for a long time, and they just couldn't bring themselves to put her down. So she came to the SPCA. She was adopted many times, but always returned. No one knew how to handle her or love her. I knew at that point we were destined to be in each other's lives. So I adopted her and brought her home. I changed her silly Gumball name to Paz, which means peace in Spanish. That first night together, I slept on my living room floor and closed the doors to all the other rooms. At around midnight, I woke up and found her little soft head resting on my hip. My heart melted. It has been so fun to watch her trust her space and feel safe. She's come out of her shell. In fact, we both have been coming out of our shells together. I now am obsessed with cats and love Paz to pieces. I was seeing Vanessa 2 times a week for years. Just over the past year, I knew I was ready to go down to 1 session a week. It worked out well. Vanessa has truly been a gift. She saw me as a fellow human being. She empowered me. She never told me what she thought I should do. She let me make my own decisions. She taught me to trust the voice within. She believed in me. She set up boundaries that only benefited myself and her. I am now off all medications. In fact, I haven't taken prescription drugs in years now. I love to eat, I love to garden, I love the sun, I love cats, I also love myself. Headwaters as a whole has provided a safe environment for me to grow and discover who I really am. Everyone there is friendly and joyful and caring and has been supportive in cheering me on alongside my journey. I will always remember the feeling of opening those front doors. I not only was opening the doors to a safe and amazing establishment, but also opening the doors to healing and love and life. Recently, I've decided to move back to Lancaster, Pennsylvania. I call Fort Wayne my home, but it's time now to experience the joy I feel with my family. I want to get to know them and who they are, and I want them to get to know me as a person too, and who I am. I am a being who now has a desire and passion for life. I look at my scars and only have love for myself. I no longer feel shame or guilt for any of it. I am someone who loves life so fully, who loves myself so fully, that the abundance of joy that I feel deserves to be shared with my family, who only experience darkness with me. They never stopped supporting me or loving me, and now I just want to feel all their love. We all believed I would not live past age 30. I am now almost 36, and have realized that the light I have been searching for has always been within.